My name is Evan Stimkin. This video is for you, the parents. It's going to be kind of a quick introduction to special education and your rights to this and for your students' rights. It's also going to be a little background information on the start of special education, as well as some tips for you. I hope you enjoy.
So as I talked about in the beginning, we're going to start off a little bit talking about special education here for a while. Some of the content can be a little overwhelming, it seems, from the book, the wording and stuff, but I'll help you, the parents, better understand what is expected, not only of you, but of me as well. First, we're going to start off with a little background information on special education and the dealing with the mental disabilities. Throughout our history, it seems that from the beginning there seems to be many tales of inhumane treatment. This was changed with Hippocrates in 400 BC and followed up by Plato. These people believed that mental disabilities were emotional problems and not controlled by a supernatural power like they were before. Even Alexander the Great created asylums for these people to live in and be away from others in the world. John Locke was the first to help people with mental disabilities, bringing the concept of blank slate to the public attention. He believed that every child is born with a blank mind and learns things as they grow. This means they are not born with this evil inside them. In the late 1700s, Jean-Marc Gaspard Itard wanted to find new methods to teach people with mental disabilities. He tried this with an orphan boy, and he believed that he had failed, but he inspired others to try things for themselves and help these people for the first time. This was a real changing point in history. During the 1800s, residential schools for individuals with special needs began to emerge. The first American residential schools were very similar to the ones in Europe, the first being established by Thomas Hopkins in Hartford, Connecticut. This, like other schools at this time, avoided severely disabled students. It only took in students who were blind, deaf, or had slight mental disabilities. Others were sent to asylums as it was too expensive to put them in private schools. The first school for the blind was found in Watertown, Massachusetts. This was called the Perkins School for the Blind. One person that you may have heard of that actually attended Perkins School for the Blind was Helen Keller. From this, people began to be inspired to help people with disabilities. It wasn't until the 20th century that the first college for the deaf, Gallaudet College, began teaching a teacher training program that would help people teach deaf and blind children. Along with these educational opportunities came many community organizations. These have developed to help family members reach their individual's potentials and live a fulfilling life. The first being the Easter Seals organization. Edgar Allan lost his son in a car accident and opened a hospital in his honor. In this hospital, he saw children with mental disabilities being hidden from the public. He began to make awareness for these children and has since created one of the best organizations for mental disabilities in the country. Another organization, the Joseph Kennedy Jr. Foundation, was founded by the powerful Kennedy family when their daughter was diagnosed with a mental disability. They believed that persons with intellectual disabilities have the ability to live, learn, work, recreate, and worship like everyone else. This is a helpful organization for families to give them resources in their community for help. An organization that you might have heard of is the Special Olympics. Established in 1986, it is an athletic program for people with intellectual disabilities. It is actually the world's largest sports program with 150 countries and 2.25 million athletes that participate. There are many volunteers, and I encourage you to check this organization out for yourself and see what you can do. ARC, or Association for Retarded Citizens, is an activist group that influences state legislators and Congress. This group is now called the ARC in order to change the terminology. Autism Speaks is the largest nonprofit group that focuses on research to finding a cure and treatment for autism. And then the last organization here you see on this page is the Gordon Hartman Foundation. This is actually a pretty cool organization. It created the only amusement park for people with mental disabilities, and it is actually called Morgan's Wonderland. And I thought this was pretty cool because it kind of shows that they are people too. So that was kind of just a background of information, and it's kind of, I threw a lot at you there real quick, but now I'm going to kind of get into more of what you as a parent and me as a teacher really need to focus on and know, and that's going to be the legislation of all these mental disabilities and the way you go about like treating them and how you can help these students. Legislation for people with disabilities has been developing since the 1960s. I'm going to point out just a few key movements here that helped with this. The first is the Vocational Rehabilitation Act of 1973, Section 504. This relates to people with mental disabilities not being excluded from anything that they believe they can be in. Section 504 exclusively mostly focuses on equal employment. However, in the civil rights such as education, health, welfare, and other social services are included as well in this, but mainly what it focuses on is equal employment and equal opportunities for mentally disabled. The Americans with Disabilities Act, the second one on the page here, is more focused on equal education. Schools must serve all children unless the child is a direct threat to others. The facilities needed cannot be provided, or the child care center would have to change the services it provided. There have been many amendments to make this act stronger, and this is why we're seeing many more facilities being updated and many more ramps put up and all the things at schools and other places around town, focused mainly on to help people with mental disabilities and physical disabilities. The Education of All Handicapped Children Act of 1975, or Public Law 94-142, it's the middle one on your page here. This act states that all people between 3 and 18 must be provided with a free and appropriate education. Another major part of this act is the least restrictive environment. This means that the child should be able to be in the most included classroom that their abilities will allow. If that means the regular classroom with the helper, then that is what's going to happen, or if that means they need to be in a special education classroom with just the helper, that is what this law allows. The next one here is Public Law 98-199. It is the Education of the Handicapped Act Amendments of 1983. This extended funding to state schools went towards increasing assistance to children who are deaf and blind, and it is for children from birth to age 5, so it's more of a younger, non-school age children law. And the next one is the Public Law 99-457, and this one was actually established in 1986, so a little after these, and it focused on helping infants and toddlers and giving parents help with them, like teaching them from birth. And for more questions on these, more public law information, I kind of just blazed through them pretty fast for you, but I don't want to overwhelm you. So if you have any more questions, you can always contact your local school, and they can give you more information on what you need or what you have questions on, and they'll be more than willing to help you. So here we're going to talk a little bit about IDEA, which is the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. This actually is formerly the Education for All Handicapped Children Act, which was Public Law 94-142, which was what we just talked about. Really, this one, they just did a few updates and a few minor changes to the law to help it make more sense and better, more clear, really. One was they changed the term handicapped child to child with disabilities. And another was all children with disabilities will have an education that is individualized to meet their needs. And we'll talk about that. It's the IEPs, the individualized educational programs. We'll talk about that here in a little bit. Basically, a lot of it is the school district is responsible for these students, and they have to comply with the parents, you guys, and talk to you about what they're going to do with your student and your child and help them become a better student and try to get them in the least restrictive environment and really help them. The next one is the Individuals with Disabilities Education Improvement Act. This was created in 2006, and it's really, I'm just going to read you these 10 suggestions they give you here, and it's make sure they meet the procedural requirements of IDEA, convene legally correct IEP meetings, develop educationally meaningful IEP, conduct relevant assessments, link assessment results to goals and services, develop measurable annual goals, determine how you will measure progress toward the goals, and develop a schedule for reporting students' progress to his or her parents, base services on peer-reviewed research, implement program auditions in the general education classroom, and lastly, provide related services when necessary. Basically, I kind of said those pretty fast. Make sure that your student is getting treated fairly, and by law, make sure that they are getting what they deserve. Here we go. Here's the IEPs. These are important and required for every student with a disability. This illustrates the goals for the children. This can be a lot of paperwork, but it's important to understand for the parents so they can see the development in their child's education. There are several men that form an IEP team, so the parent and teacher do not have to feel overwhelmed by themselves. This is kind of a long process, and it provides opportunities to parents and staff to talk about everything that's going on, their concerns, and what really they need to do. There are also several requirements that a parent needs to be aware of when it comes to IEP and members of an IEP team. You can ask, I don't want to get too lengthy here, so there's a few that I just wanted to point out. Make sure the parent, you guys are always at these IEP meetings when talking about your child. You are the main decision maker, and you get the last say on no matter what it is. So make sure you are there for them. So coming off of all these laws and legislations, I just kind of wanted to bring it back and talk a little bit about special needs terminology. There's a lot of things going around, and they're trying to change it and make it more politically correct. And as you can see, there are a lot of terms that are used in special education, and instead of overwhelming you with all of these, I'm just going to kind of point out a few that I thought you might need to know. The first one on the list, autism. It's a developmental disability significantly affecting verbal and nonverbal communication and social interaction. This is one that is hitting our schools and our children very hard, and it's becoming more and more common, and there really is no cure or really any diagnosis really that can help. So that is a very important one, and it's a scary one, but it's being more and more common. Another one I kind of wanted to look at was one that I don't really know much about, and we're learning more and more about this as we go along here. This is another kind of quick one. It's Tourette syndrome, and that is a neurological disorder that includes repetitive involuntary movement or tics. The average age that this will come about is 7 to 10, so this will be more relevant in a school-age child than sometimes. This isn't a very common disease, but it is important to know about and important to kind of know what you're doing as a teacher and a parent to help these students in school. Another one that I thought was interesting that we could talk about is going to be the specific learning disabilities. And these are things like dyslexia, minimal brain dysfunction, brain injury, perceptual disabilities. These are kind of things that will affect a student in class. And they can all be found by a group that they can watch your child and they can help you. And all these things will be able to be solved with an IEP group. And maybe not solved necessarily, maybe not the right word, but it will help your student in the long run. And I think it really benefit both you and your student, your child, in school. So all those diseases we just talked about, there are signs of learning disabilities, and I kind of wanted to give you a few of those. I'm not going to give you all. There's quite a few. But I wanted to give you a few, and these are important for you as a parent to understand, because if you see these, it's really important that you say something to a teacher or a principal or administrator to help your child. If you think something is going on, you are their primary caregiver, and you have the last say in all this, and I think you understand your child the most, and it'll be very beneficial to from a teacher standpoint if a parent comes up to you and says, hey, I think this is going on. And I just wanted to give you a few of them here. May have trouble learning the alphabet, rhyming words, or connecting letter sounds. May have many mistakes when reading aloud, repeat, and pause often. And I don't want to scare you. A lot of these are common in younger children anyway, that don't know how to read and are learning to read. And I think it's more of if it's consistent on and on at an older age. May have some real troubles with spelling, very messy handwriting, or they can't hold a pencil right. They struggle to express their ideas. They struggle with sarcasm, comic strips, jokes. They use a wrong word or mispronounce a word. They struggle organizing what they want to say. They may confuse math symbols and misread numbers. May not know where to begin a task or how to go on from there. it's a lot of learning experience, and over time, I think these will become more and more apparent to you as a parent, and I think it'll help in the long run. Also on this, I just wanted to talk a few tips for parents. There's 4 of them here I got for you, mostly just to help you. Give your child with learning disabilities the opportunity to excel and enjoy activities outside the classroom. Dance, sports, music, computers, and give them opportunities if they're interested in something. Give them opportunities to do that. Encourage friendships with other children. Help your child learn through areas of strengths. Talk with your child's teacher and observe yourself how the child learns best. Establish a special place where the child can do homework and prioritize its importance. This is a big one. I think if you come and talk to me specifically, and I can see where they're learning and what they're doing, and we can talk and you say and can really combine our thoughts, I think it'll really help the child not only learn but really feel comfortable in learning. Meet other parents who have children with learning disabilities and share your concerns and successes. It's a lot of talking to other people and getting feedback, and really it's a giant effort from everybody. And then lastly is help develop an educational plan for your child with the school. We kind of talked about that with the IEP, and establish a positive working relationship with your teacher and have an open forum, really just be able to talk. You can talk to me anytime. All my door is always open. If you ever have any concerns, go ahead and come talk to me and we can work it out, and we can really try to find the best way for your student to learn. The next thing I want to talk about was the Child Find Project. It is a little bit about what we talked about earlier, and it's the parents' ability to have educators help them determine if a child has a disability, and this is designed to locate children with disabilities using any feasible methods. Child Find is one method to reach parents. Another is newly developed brain scan for infants and toddlers. This allows for doctors to evaluate the child's brain development over a few years of life. And I think a lot of what the Child Find Project will do is it's finding your children and seeing where they're struggling, and if it's a disability or if it's just they're not paying attention or any of that sort. Some evaluation for initial evaluations. Notice must be provided to evaluate a child, and informed consent of parents must be obtained. Like I talked about earlier, you are the final decision maker in all of this. We can't just take your student and start testing them. No single procedure shall be the sole criterion for determining eligibility. The child must be assessed in all areas of suspected disabilities, and determination of eligibility shall be made by a team of qualified professionals and the child's parents. Children are not eligible if the only deciding factor is a limited English proficiency or a lack of math or reading instruction. And like I talked about, a lot of it is learning, and it's kind of going as you go and understanding. Everything includes you. Everything will have your final say, so it is nothing to be too overwhelmed about. We're not just going to put your child into a special needs classroom if we don't talk to you first and you don't think it's necessary. Here is the individual family service plan, and this is actually different from an IEP because it focuses on more on infants and toddlers and not school-aged children. The IFSP is designed to be flexible with families and unintrusive to the desired upbringing of the child. Once a year, the plan is reviewed and the family is required to follow through. Many states are making this mandatory for children to recognize disabilities younger and younger in children. I think really what this is doing is it's trying to catch these disabilities at a younger age, and this is important because if you know what's going on with your child, you are more apt to help them earlier and earlier, and this will help them in the long run. The IFSP is actually designed to be very flexible. I highlighted that with some bold letters here in your PowerPoint, and it's family focused. And it really, the IFSP really wants you to feel comfortable and help your child in knowing what's going on. And here in this book that I'm going off of here, it's really talks about being able to communicate with the people and really being involved with your child. Program that I kind of want to talk about a little bit is called Head Start. It was developed to help school districts with the Congress stipulations that called for 10% of enrollment must be children with special needs. Head Start also helped recognize and receive the help students receive the appropriate education. One of these things is the LEA, and that is the Local Education Agency. This is responsible for ensuring that services are provided to children with disabilities from birth to 21 years of age. This agency goes hand in hand with Head Start, and the two work together to ensure all children are getting the education they deserve. It is important for you, the parents, to help with these agencies if you suspect your child is in need of special assistance. This is another one of those that we've been talking about a little bit, and it's a lot of you coming to us and talking if you have a concern, and that will really help our process and be able to speed up the process a little bit as well. There are several agencies that you, the parent, can go to if you suspect your child needs assistance before they're in school. Children from age 3 to 5 should attend a good, developmentally appropriate class that is a supplemental intervention that meets the needs of the children. It's kind of like a daycare or preschool. There are some things that a parent can do to further along the child's development and help the child. This is the list I have for you here, and basically it's going to talk a little bit about you want to communicate with your child. This will help your child learn the language and practice skills. Give praise and encouragement. Praise reinforces learning behaviors and really will give a positive attitude towards your child. This is a big one. Never compare. Don't compare your child to others, especially with learning. Every child learns differently, and there's special characteristics that make up every child, and everyone's special. Offer enrichment activities. Go to the zoo, go to libraries, go to the airport. Use TV as a learning tool instead of like an escape. Watch the Discovery Channel, watch Food Network, anything that is a learning activity for your child. Encourage play. Play is important for children with disabilities. And it's just as important for children without disabilities. And do not let these disabilities interfere with them wanting to get out and do things. It is important to let them try and see if they can succeed. And another big one, read and talk together. Read to your children, have them read to you, listen to them. This can be anything from magazines to books. Just read and be there for your child and talk to them. Develop good work habits. Get sufficient rest. Make sure you set a bedtime and stick to it with the child. And then attend school regularly. If a child is coming to school, it's gonna be helpful. And I know some parents don't believe this, and some parents don't always believe in the school system, but we are here to help your child, and we are definitely here to do what we can, whatever we can, to help your child succeed. My main goal as a teacher is to have every child reach their full potential. Whether parent or teacher like me, sometimes the student may need extra practice outside of the classroom, and there's a few things you can do as parents that will help your student. Visit with me, come talk to me, we can talk about what's going on, try to design or figure something out for your child. Set a definite time for your child. I am always willing to do extra work and help your child if it's going to learn. That is what I'm here for. That is my job. It is what I love to do. Monitor progress. Keep a record of the assignments that they hand in and ask for assignments if you want to see how they're doing. If the grades are low and you don't know why, come talk to me. We can talk about it, and I'll be happy to help you. Promote success. You want to be firm in your approach, but also pleasant. You don't want to look down on the child. You can always set up a reward system, or just make sure your child has a time to work and a time to play, and make sure that they know the difference between the two. And the big one is be involved. Be there for the child. Be that main caretaker. Be the person that's going to be there for them if they have questions, and will come talk to me if they have questions. I'm always here as well, and I will be happy to work with your child and you if it comes down to it. If we need to do extra work or really figure out something else that's going to help them, I'm always willing to do that. So we've been talking a lot about you and your child, and now I kind of want to focus more a little bit on you and parental reactions to disabilities. This is important for you to understand. There's a long process of understanding what's going on, and I know this is a very tough subject, actually, but I wanted to touch base on it a little bit, and here are kind of the initial responses to when parents find out that their child has a disability. It's denial, projection of blame, fear, guilt, grief, withdrawal, rejection, and acceptance. I think the big one here that I really want to focus on is acceptance. I think every child has a special goal and is special, and every one of them can reach a potential as long as they have their drive, and if their parents backing them up, they will always be working hard. And too often, professionals like me and friends respond with sympathy rather than suggestions for ways to face the future and meet the challenges. Always got to keep your head up. Just keep your head on straight and just keep moving forward. Your child's going to want to work hard, and if you show them that hard work pays off, I think it'll really stand out in their mind, and I think you'll really be able to push your child forward. And I really believe that this is a huge part of this whole reaction is the acceptance and being able to cope with it and really drive from there. And it's the other ones, there's nothing wrong with these other ones. There's always going to be some kind of denial and guilt and fear. Fear is huge, I know, but it's going to be, and we just got to work together to find a solution to all these problems, and over time, these will work themselves out. Just a quick one here, just a quick little slide, and students speak out, parents share feelings. I think it's very important for your child to speak out, and if they see something wrong or they don't feel right with something going on, they need to say something and be able to talk to us as teachers and administrators, and really we can help them go from there. If something's not working for them and they're frustrated by it and we don't see it, I think it's really important for them to come talk to us. And it's one of those things that it'll help in the long run if they come talk to us. And the same goes with parents. Parents share feelings. If you see something that just isn't working for your child, or you don't like the way it's being taught in school, come talk to us. Talk about it. We can figure out a different way to teach it, figure out a different way what's going on. I think that's going to be a huge important factor in these coming years if you have a student with special needs or a child with special needs. Talk a little bit more about your parents, the parents' rights, and the first one is the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act, also known, as you see on your screen, as the Buckley Amendment. It is important to understand this for parents. Basically, it's your rights as a parent with a child with a disability. You need to be aware of them. If you don't speak out, if you feel like something is wrong, your rights could be lost. The Buckley Amendment greatly affected record-keeping techniques for people with disabilities. A lot more records are kept for students with disabilities, and everything that goes on, they have to report. Teachers have to report. I have to report. And it's important to know these things and understand them. And if you feel, there's a section here on how to file a complaint of discrimination. If you feel like your child's being discriminated against because he has a disability, there are several ways you can file a complaint. Here's the following items are to include when you do a complaint. I just want to run through these quick for you so you have them. Your name and address and a telephone that you can be reached at. A general description of the person or class of people injured by the alleged act or acts. You don't have to say specific names if you don't feel comfortable. The name and location of the institution that allegedly committed the discriminatory act or acts, and a description of the alleged discriminatory acts in sufficient detail to enable the OCR to understand what occurred when it occurred, and the basis for the alleged discrimination. This can be race, color, national origin, sex, disability, age, or the Boy Scouts of America Equal Access Act. I think you can contact for this is the OCR, the Office of Civil Rights, and you can just look that up online, and it'll pop up right away if you ever did have a complaint about your school or a person, or just some kind of thing outside of it that is discriminating, you feel like. So the last thing I really wanted to touch base on here, and I'm sorry this has kind of got a little lengthy on me, but is the culturally relevant pedagogy. This is important because it helps teachers include culturally and linguistic diverse parents in the educational decisions of their child. This has a lot to do with English language learners and that sort of thing with children that struggle with English and maybe thought to have a disability, but really they just don't understand English very well and are struggling in the class because of it. Here are a few things that can be included with this, and it's perceptions, trust, adaptation to the child's special needs. That's a big one. Families appear to have less of a grief cycle if they seem resilient to accepting the child. For this suggestion, it has here, form a parent support group, and the parents can talk to one another, and the parents can guide the meetings and listen. Set goals for the children, and if there's parenting issues, this is all. There's different parenting styles, and all are important, and all form different children, and everybody has their own way of doing things. This is important, and you got to make sure that you are accepting of other people's ways of parenting. So really, I think that is all I have for you. I thank you for watching this. I hope you found a little more topic information on special education, and I hope if you have any questions, you can contact me. I am always available, or you can always look something up online. There's a lot of good websites that explain a lot of this information. So thank you for watching. Have a good day.